So one of the things that we said we were going to talk about, and I think it's very, very relevant, I've been there, is to do with the challenges that people face. So if we talk about this in terms of public speaking, and then we'll link it back to Zoom, I think it's now when everyone kind of gets that. But almost, I know a lot of people that hate being on stage. Obviously, your job and what you do is coach people through this to kind of help get the most of themselves and communicate their message and that kind of thing. What are the kind of both the main things that people struggle with, and then also what are your tips to help solve them?
Good question. Yeah, there are lots of techniques and lots of ideas, and there's no one size fits all, certainly, with anybody to help them move up. So to start with, a lot of it is about, as I said earlier on, about getting into the story in their heads about who they are, the self-awareness side. So being self-aware of, who you are and how others see you. Mm-hmm. So once we've kind of talked about that, then we start to work on how can we actually make you feel more confident, and the judgment side isn't as bad as we think. Okay. Right? So these things in our head, that self-talk that just somehow grows and grows and grows. So remember, whatever we focus on gets bigger. So the one thing we focus on, let's say we're having a hard time, got this anxiety about going on stage, and we focus on that and we think about that. All we'll do is just carry on, and it grows and grows and grows. As soon as we switch the focus, whatever that focus is. Now, a lot of the time, I try and push their focus onto the value.
Okay.
All right. So let's say somebody's feeling that anxiety, then they're just in their head, they just keep going round and round. I can't do this. I'm gonna, it's gonna be awful once I get up there. If we start thinking about, okay, what's the value? So how do you want, for example, I'll ask you right now.
Yeah.
If I ask you now 4 or 5 adjectives of how you would like the people looking at you and listening to you on your podcast, how you would like them to perceive you, what would you say?
Credible.
Just throw them out, 4 or 5.
Credible, knowledgeable, likable, trustworthy. And I think part of the reason, almost the production, is that I want people to know that I put effort into its high quality, but I don't try and hide the vulnerability or the flaws, and that's, again, part of the message when I'm trying to communicate on a deeper level. So if I make a mistake, I tend not to edit it out. I just carry on, because that's me.
Okay. So as you were saying those words, and as you was, this last 15, 20 seconds of what you just shared with me, how do you, when you finish that, how did you feel? How are you feeling when you think of that?
I guess because I was concentrating on thinking of something, as opposed to I've got 7 lights around me, I'm on camera, is the stream working? It does take your mind out of
absolutely.
The worry. Yeah.
Absolutely. Often just by saying those things and imagining it, in your head, an image of how you want to be perceived, and having that as close as possible to reality, helps you start to focus on something positive. And as that last part you said after those adjectives, I could hear and I could see in your face, you felt stronger. You felt right. It felt good. It looked as if you were genuine and passionate about that.
Okay.
So as soon as we start focusing on things that are actually positive, and naturally the value as well, if we think about the value. So, okay, again, another question. All these questions. I should be interviewing you.
That's
so a question. So at the end of this, not specifically this episode, but generally, at the end of your podcast episodes, what do you want people to take away? What's the value they're going to get? What are they going to get from your podcast?
So for me, it's a lot of it. It's the value from a speaker, where the stuff that we've already talked about, I think, is really good, and I think people will value that. I always like to flavor it, learn from it, bring it back to what I class of the businesses that I know and make it relevant. So I try and process everything that you say and make it really simple for people. And that's kind of what I look to do to build trust. So it's a way to share your message And then over time, when I'm working away on my kind of iMac ahead of me, I have stuff in the background and I look at people and feel people and get a vibe off them. And so, prime example, earlier today, I've started watching videos of a guy who's a tech investor in San Francisco, and he's really good. And I've probably watched about 8 of his videos, but he recorded them 3 years ago. I only discovered him today. So a lot of what I do this is with the 5 to 10 year game in that is my plan, that I almost don't mind if nobody watches this now, because I don't sell a high volume product. So it's trying to build the long term trust and relationships and stuff with a lot of people in a way that, due to COVID, I can't network in person. So it's that, and again, like the profile side of it is kind of what I'm trying to do and how it works, and hopefully it seems
Okay,
to work.
so people walk away, or when they see this at any time, whether it's this evening, right now, this evening, or in 2 or 3 years' time, they're going to get a better flavour of who you are, of what you do, of potentially connected with the services as well, your values.
Mm-hmm.
All this is connected to you and your values, and these are the things that differentiate you from somebody else.
Yep.
So again, by focusing on those things, on those ideas, then we can't focus on two things. We just simply can't focus fully on two things at once. Maybe women can at sometimes, but generally, two things at the same time is really difficult. So when you're feeling nervous, when that anxiety is rising, focus on the value. Okay, what's the value? Say to yourself, what are they going to get from this? And if you believe that, and you can share it, and you've got the content you're sharing is good, that when they walk away they're going to get something of value, then that automatically will start to help you feel better and start to help you not focus on the things out of your control.